Dr. Imaja Jubilee.
All right. Let's spread a little love all over this land. Let's spread a little love through our hearts and hands. With love rising. I, Ann Dolores Brown, my birth given name, started my early education in Charlotte County, Virginia, in Saxe, Virginia, attending two-room brick school called Galilee School doing segregation, doing Jim Crow. It was 2 rooms. We had an outdoor toilet. We had an outdoor pump.
And so when we talk about what schooling looked like then, and very, very basic, I mean, amenities were very poorly funded. It really wasn't spectacular.
And every day, one of the things that stands out in my mind when I first started school was we had to say our chores. We had to say my fingernails are clean, I brushed my teeth, my hair has been combed, and I have on clean underwear, okay? We had to do that every day. Then we had to raise our hand and say Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, all right? And then as the day progressed on, they gave us book to read. Some of the books that I first read was Fun with Dick and Jane, all right? And with Fun and Dick and Jane, it was all white people. There was blonde hair. There were no black people in the books. There were no black images in the book. And we read out of those books all through the first through the 4th grade. And then one of the first black books that I got introduced to was called Little Sambo. And that book, when I think about it now, it just kind of turns me off.
Was fought in 1896. It decided that separate but equal accommodations were okay for black and white individuals. Separate was very, very obvious and apparent. The equal was kind of the bit more ambiguous because in large part, equality and separate but equal depended on who was making the definition.
What they did was built new schools, and I went to Bacon District Elementary School, which was still in Saxe, and that school is still operating right now. I ended up graduating from there from the 7th grade. And then I went to Central High School in Charlotte Courthouse, Virginia, which was still segregated. I graduated from there in 1965. That class was all black, but I did graduate at the top of my class, okay? I think I might have been number 3. And that's why Miss Irma Blackwell, who was superintendent of the black schools, said, okay, you're going to apply to Longwood.
So when colleges at that time, in a lot of capacities, were starting to try desegregation, they started with kind of grad school. The first African-American undergraduate students in the late 1960s. There was a student admitted, I believe, in 1966 or 7. That student did not finish.
When we got the letter back and it said I wasn't accepted, and okay, you know, being a black and doing Jim Crow times, I didn't really see the significance of all of what was happening because I was only like 16, 17 years old. But Miss Blackwell was upset. She was very, very upset. She said, I'm going to find out what's going on with this. Okay. And she said, get in the car. I got in her car, and we came over here to Longwood. She put me out in the area, like where the rotunda is. I was seated out there from the registrar's office. And I saw all these white students going by, and they were looking at me. And the look on their face was, you know, like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? But I sat there patiently, and I waited. And when Miss Blackwell came out storming out the doors, and she said to me, you did not get accepted, quote, because you were colored. Miss Blackwell was just as disappointed, and my parents were disappointed. But I had also, you know, doing it. Okay, what you do? My dad said you keep on moving. So you go to Virginia Union. And so what happened, I went to Virginia Union for a year, and then I ended up getting married. And I did not finish my education at Virginia Union University. I had a daughter, which is Cosette Ducharme, and then I went on for a number of years without having finished my education. And it dawned on me, I wanted to get my degree because I wasn't furthering myself without having that degree. I told my mom that I wanted to go back to school. And my mom said, you didn't go when we was paying for it. How you going to pay for it now? I found a way to pay for it. And then she told me, she said, you're not going to graduate from there because you never finished anything you started with your education. And that just hurt me. That was so discouraging. The other friend and I applied to Virginia Commonwealth University. 2 hours every single day because both of us was determined to finish school. And then, after, I was doing really good, I finished my year at VCU. And when they had the graduation, and I had to walk across that stage, and they handed my degree to me, and my mother was in the audience, holding my daughter and my father, and I came down off the stage. I said, Mama, you said I wasn't going to do it. I did it. Here's my degree, okay? So I had my undergraduate degree in rehabilitative services that I got from VCU. I have been put in so many boxes and labels in my life during this educational process. So many, being black, being colored, being a Negro, all of that. Being a woman, being a black woman. I have gone through the system, but I'm still here. I'm still standing, tall like a tree. Just look at me. I'm still standing, arms so high, high in the sky that nobody can deny that I'm beautiful, bold, and brilliant, badass Nubian queen. I had gone to a spiritual retreat, and they had a table discussion going on, talking about the things that had scarred you and you had never talked about. And you know what it was? Longwood University. That was the first major scar that I got that I really recognized because of the color of my skin. And I wrote another letter in between all that and asked for an honorary doctorate. I had to write and request it. And they had all this information. And they hadn't done anything about it. What's happening with that? Miss Jubilee, just be patient. Something's happening. Okay, it's going to be good. You're going to love it. Okay. And then finally, he said, you will receive an honorary doctorate on May the 19th of 2024. And I said, okay. And it was like a burden had been lifted from my heart and it's like, I feel like I had trauma in my cells. I had trauma in my cells from that scar. And I had never processed it. And that was 2024. Incident happened in 1964. Look how many years that was. But what I'm saying is, when things are meant to happen, it will be revealed. You will be shown what to do. Just trust the process and keep on moving. I am breaking an ancestral pattern. Maybe that's the way I need to describe it. Because it is. It's an ancestral pattern for, as a black woman, not owning your voice. I'm fifth generation. That ancestral pattern is broken. I was turned down because I was black. But look where I stand today. Longwood University made up for it. Longwood University recognized that they needed not only correct it for me, but for all the other, my black brothers and sisters that had gone through injustices. And that allowed me to see that what you do, going back to purpose and service, is not all the time about you. When you get an idea and it keeps persistent in your mind, heart, and spirit, it becomes about everybody else. It becomes about everybody else.
I watched my mom work many long hours, many countless hours in achieving the goals that she wanted to achieve, as far as the education, as far as just developing into the person that she has evolved into.
Every woman has to come to the place in her life where she decides whether she's going to be her authentic self or not. And Umaja, and I certainly had a crisis point of that in my own life. And so Umaja plays that out loud and large for other people to see it and be able to say, this can be my story too.
She really influenced me to live in your skin, to be who you are, to, you know, no matter how different you might seem, she just kind of light and low where, you know what, dude, embrace yourself, just love yourself for who you are and be who you are, no matter what anybody says. And just, she gave me that empowerment to just, hey, bro, walk in your skin. Love who, like she said, look in the mirror and love that person every day.
She gave me encouragement on a deeper level, you know, because she's there, she's with me, she calls me, she physically helps to help me maintain my purpose and to pursue it and not to forget.
Like, she entrusted Kendall and I with telling her family's story, a generational story. That's, I think I realized in that moment how much this meant to her, but also how much faith she was putting in these two college students that, looking back on, had not as good of an idea of what they were doing as, you know, they probably should have, doing something this important. But she had faith in us and she worked with us. So that was probably the moment that really hit me. It's like, wow, I feel like I'm doing something impactful.
Documentary is generally about someone else's story, right? Sometimes you may be involved in that a little bit, but generally you're telling someone else's story. And so she has the story, she has the connections, and then my students are the ones who gets to tell the story. So getting to be in the middle of that and getting to be involved in that and getting to see my students put in the work, but then my students benefit from that work is truly what inspires me as an educator.
My favorite sort of collection of memories is waking up to voicemails from her of ideas and inspirational moments and just any sort of thought she was having. She would call me at very early hours. I'd wake up, I'd see the voicemail, I'd listen to it, I'd jot down as many notes as I could. I'd listen to it a few times just to make sure I got everything out of it. And so many of those ideas were translated into the documentary, whether just through the soul and the heart and the passion of those ideas, or whether there were specific things of like, let's get this person, let's talk to this person, that led to just, you know, amazing content.
Dr. Umaja Jubilee is everything and more.
Dr. Umaja Jubilee is a dynamo.
Dr. Umaja Jubilee is a force to be reckoned with.
Dr. Umaja Jubilee is uplifting and inspiring.
Dr. Umaja Jubilee is a trendsetter.
Dr. Umaja Jubilee is passionate.
Dr. Umaja Jubilee is charismatic.
Dr. Umaja Jubilee is fantastic, my mother, and all of the above.
Let me go see what he's doing. I see.
Okay. Girl, don't play no role. I don't have time, cause I saved my soul. I'm up leveling. No wasting away in a space of blaming.